Here is a piece of trivia for you. It sounds like the setup for, I don't know, some epic board game.
Right.
But in the text we're looking at today, it's treated as absolute history. Throughout all of human civilization, only 4 individuals have ever held dominion over the entire globe.
Not an empire, not a region, the whole world.
The whole world. And the breakdown is, well, it's almost perfectly symmetrical.
It is. The source we're looking at, a lecture transcript by Muhammad Ajmal Raza Qadri, details that it was an even split. 2 believers and 2 non-believers.
A perfect balance. It just sets a massive stage. Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Hello.
Today, we are not just looking at history. We are unpacking this really dense tapestry of Islamic theology, eschatology.
End-time stuff.
Big-time end-time stuff. We're talking about the nature of miracles and some incredibly specific, almost cinematic stories about the prophets.
Oh, it's a very heavy text. It swings wildly from, the engineering of ancient iron walls to the biological mechanics of a divine plague.
And then it just pivots to what feels like a courtroom drama between a prophet and the angel of death. It's fantastic.
It really is.
So before we get into the, let's call it the creature feature aspect of this.
And we are definitely going to talk about Gog and Magog.
Oh, we are. But first, we need to set the ground rules. We are impartially reporting on the narratives we found in this specific source material.
Yeah.
Our goal is to just explore the logic and the stories inside the text to see how this worldview is built without endorsing any specific theological viewpoint.
Exactly. We're here to see what the source says. And it starts with those 4 kings.
Right.
The source is very explicit. On the side of the believers, you have Prophet Suleiman, that's Solomon, and this really mysterious figure named Dhul-Qarnayn.
Okay. And on the other side...
On the opposing side, the non-believers, you've got Nasser, who we know as Nebuchadnezzar, and Namrud, or Nimrod.
And it even drops a hint for the future, doesn't it? It says a 5th ruler is still to come.
It does. A 5th universal ruler, Imam Mahdi.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Dhul-Qarnayn, and I think we need to zero in on him. He's always been this enigma.
He has. Does our source clarify who he actually was?
It does. It actually addresses a major point of debate. The question is, was Dhul-Qarnayn a prophet, or was he a wali, a saint, or a friend of God?
And the text takes a side.
It takes a hard stance. The speaker cites Ali, who is known as Sheri Kuda, the Lion of God, to argue that Dhul-Qarnayn was not a prophet.
So what's the distinction there? Why does that matter so much?
It matters for the hierarchy, you see. The source is establishing that Dhul-Qarnayn was this righteous servant who was granted immense authority.
Worldly power.
Exactly. Power to travel the globe, build massive infrastructure projects. But he didn't carry the specific burden of prophethood. He wasn't receiving direct divine revelation or wahi. He was an executor of God's will.
Through action, not through preaching.
That's a great way to put it. And that distinction is crucial because of what he does next. He travels. The text describes this epic expedition to the setting of the sun.
The imagery there is so vivid.
It really is. He travels west until he's at the absolute edge of the known world. And from his point of view, it looks like the sun is setting into a black well or a muddy spring.
Like looking into the abyss from the edge of the ocean?
Precisely. And in this story, the abyss stares back.
Right. This is where the genre shifts. He runs into a civilization that's being terrorized by Yajuj and Majuj.
Gog and Magog.
Gog and Magog. And the description is, it's not vague at all. It's terrifyingly specific.
It is. The source profiles them as this tribe that's physically imposing, broad and tall. But their main trait is just this savage, all-consuming hunger.
They eat everything.
Everything. Crops, humans. The text even specifies they eat snakes and scorpions.
That detail really stuck with me. I mean, if you're eating scorpions, you're not just hungry, you're fundamentally different.
It paints a picture of a swarm that just obliterates the entire ecosystem.
So the locals, they beg Dhul-Qarnayn for help, for a barrier. And this is where we get a lesson in ancient engineering. He doesn't just, snap his fingers and create a force field.
No, he's an engineer. He asks for manpower.
Oh.
The source details a whole process using blocks of iron and then molten lead or copper.
Oh.
They build this physical wall and then use fire to fuse the metals together. It creates a barrier that's too smooth to climb and too hard to break. A literal alloy wall.
But here's the hook, right? The thing that connects this ancient story to the future. The source says they're still there, behind that wall.
Still there.
Yeah.
And they're not just waiting around. They are trying to break out every single day.
It's this psychological horror element, this loop of total futility.
It is. The tribe spends all day chipping and clawing at this metal wall. They work until it's paper thin. You can practically see light through it.
They're right on the verge.
Right on the verge. Then the sun goes down and their leader says, let's leave it. We will finish the rest tomorrow.
And that's the error.
That is the fatal theological error, because they fail to say, inshallah, God willing, the metaphysical laws of this world kick in.
And God just repairs the wall overnight.
Back to full thickness. Every morning, they have to start from scratch.
It's like a weaponized myth of Sisyphus.
Yeah.
So the source is basically saying the only thing keeping the apocalypse at bay isn't the iron, it's their lack of humility.
Precisely. The wall is strong, but their linguistic failure is the real lock on the door.
So how do they get out?
The source says that close to Qiyamah, or Judgment Day, one of them will finally say, inshallah, we will finish tomorrow.
And that one phrase unlocks destiny.
The wall won't repair itself, and the next day they break through. And the aftermath described is just total chaos, swarming the earth, drinking entire rivers dry.
And no human army can stop them. So how is this resolved? It doesn't sound like a big battle scene.
No, human intervention is completely useless at this point. It's a biological resolution. Prophet Isa, that's Jesus, will pray for their destruction.
And the prayer is answered.
In a very specific way. A plague. Worms or parasites that appear in their necks. It's described as a sudden mass extinction event for the entire tribe.
It's incredibly grim, but it really emphasizes the theme that physical might walls, armies, is nothing compared to a divine decree. And speaking of that, the text pivots here. It moves from these giant monsters to the actual nature of the prophets themselves.
Right, this is the whole human versus divine debate. The speaker is very, very passionate about how we translate the word bashar. It means human, yes, but he argues you can't just call a prophet a man like us.
He seems almost offended by the comparison, really driving home this idea that there's a difference in quality.
He uses this mineral analogy that I thought was quite clever. He says, look, a prophet is a human, just like a ruby is a stone.
Okay.
If you call a ruby just a stone, you aren't wrong, geologically speaking, but you are completely missing its value. You're missing its essence. You're the one losing out if you treat a ruby like a piece of gravel.
So they share the biological form, but their spiritual composition is something else entirely.
Exactly. And to illustrate this ruby status, the source tells this story about Prophet Idris, or Enoch. And I have to say, this story has a bit of humor to it. It's like a legal thriller where the prophet outsmarts the system.
This was my favorite part of the whole text. It's basically Idris versus the terms and conditions of the afterlife. Walk us through it.
Okay, so the narrative says that Idris wants to befriend Israel, the angel of death.
A bold move.
A very bold move. He asks him, can we be friends? And once they have this bond, Idris starts asking for specific experiences. First, he asks to taste death, just to know what it's like.
Which is normally a one-way trip.
Right, but because of his status, the angel agrees. He takes Idris' soul, lets him experience death for a moment, and then returns it. Idris comes back to life. Step one, done.
Okay.
Then he asks to see hell. The angel shows him the fire. Then he asks to see heaven.
And this is where the trap snaps shut.
This is it. The angel takes him to heaven, and as soon as Idris steps inside the gates, he just refuses to leave. Plants his feet. The angel says, okay, tour's over, time to go back.
And Idris pulls out his legal argument.
He says, and I'm paraphrasing, God promised every soul must taste death. I did that. God promised we was passed by hell. I saw it. And God promised that whoever enters paradise stays forever. So based on God's own rules, I'm not leaving.
He used the divine laws to secure his spot. He found a loophole in the cosmic bureaucracy.
And the source says God validates it. God essentially tells the angel of death, he's right, let him stay. It's a story meant to show the unique wisdom of the prophets. They understand the divine laws better than anyone.
Even the angels. That theme of divine logic working in strange ways, it carries right over to the story of Musa or Moses.
Yes, the source focuses so heavily on the irony of his childhood, it's almost Shakespearean.
They call it God's Anoke Andaz, his unique style.
Exactly. I mean, think about the situation. Pharaoh is the ultimate tyrant. He gets a prophecy that a boy will be born who will destroy his kingdom. So what does he do?
Tries to kill every single male baby. A brutal but logical policy to ensure his survival.
And yet, through divine planning, Pharaoh ends up adopting and raising that very child in his own lap. The source just hammers home the irony that Pharaoh's money, Pharaoh's food, Pharaoh's palace,
all of it was used to nurture the very force that would destroy him.
It's the ultimate checkmate.
The source also gets into a specific incident about Musa's speech impediment. I know the general story, but it adds this detail about a test with a burning coal.
Yes, this explains the lisp, or the impediment he's famous for. The story goes, as an infant, Musa is sitting on Pharaoh's lap. Yeah. He reaches up, grabs Pharaoh's beard, and just slaps him.
Which, for a paranoid tyrant, that has to be a massive red flag.
Pharaoh instantly thinks, this is him. This is the child. He wants to kill him right then. But his wife, Asaya, she intervenes. She argues he's just a baby. He doesn't know what he's doing.
So they devise a test to prove his ignorance.
Right. A plate of gold or dates on one side, and a plate of burning coals on the other. If he's intelligent, he'll grab the shiny gold.
And if he grabs the gold, Pharaoh kills him. Talk about high stakes for a toddler.
Incredibly high stakes. But the source says the angel Gabriel guided the baby's hand away from the gold and directly to the burning coal.
Oh, wow.
He picks it up, puts it in his mouth, and burns his tongue.
So he fails the intelligence test.
Which saves his life. Pharaoh sees it and thinks, okay, just a foolish baby. But that act causes the speech impediment. The source connects this directly to his later prayer in the Qur'an, where he asks God to untie the knot in his tongue so people can understand him.
So it recontextualizes the disability not as a flaw, but as the literal scar of his survival.
It weaves everything together.
Even the magic and the miracles in the story have a certain logic. Later on, when Musa's up on the mountain, his people are led astray by a man named Samiri.
Ah, yes, the magician and the golden calf.
Right, but Samiri wasn't just a sculptor. The source asks a great question. Why would people who just saw the Red Sea part suddenly worship a statue?
They wouldn't. Not a lifeless lump of gold. The text is the calf actually made a sound. It lowed like a cow.
That was the special effect that sold the lie. So how did Samiri pull that off?
This is where it gets mystical. Samiri had apparently seen the angel Gabriel Jabril on his horse, and the source says that wherever Gabriel's horse stepped, life would just spring from the dust.
So that dust contained the essence of life itself.
Samiri was clever. He scooped some of it up. He collected the dust from the hoof print. When he built the hollow calf, he threw that dust inside. And that residual divine energy is what animated it enough to make a sound.
That's a fascinating take on magic in this worldview. It's just misused divine residue.
The perfect description. And his punishment reflects that misuse.
Yeah.
He wasn't executed. He was cursed with untouchability. He just wandered around screaming, "Don't touch me."
The punishment of total isolation.
He used contact with the divine to mislead people, so his punishment was the loss of all human contact.
Speaking of social issues, the source kind of wraps up with this very heavy theme, accusation, and how society loves to tear down good people with scandal.
The speaker is very passionate about this. He says it's so easy to do two things: suspect people, bad gumani, and gossip kibat. And he lists some of the heavy hitters from history who were falsely accused.
Yusuf or Joseph.
Joseph, accused by Zuleika, thrown in prison.
And Miriam.
Miriam's story is pivotal here. She brings the baby Jesus home, and the entire community immediately accuses her of unchastity. It's a socially hopeless situation.
So the defense had to be supernatural.
The infant Jesus speaks from the cradle. He declares, "I am a servant of Allah," and defends his mother's honor while he's still a baby.
And the source connects this directly to Aisha, the wife of Prophet Muhammad.
Yes, who was also the victim of a huge slander campaign in Medina. The parallel is that just as Jesus spoke to clear Miriam, the Quran itself was revealed to clear Aisha.
So the takeaway is that God acts as the defense attorney for the righteous.
It is. The source uses this beautiful line: people can carve idols out of the stone of the Kaaba, meaning people can take the purest thing and twist it into something false, but the truth remains the truth.
It's a lot to process. We've gone from 4 kings to the end times wall of Gog and Magog to a burning coal in a baby's mouth. What's the third line here for you?
For me, it's about the fragility of human power versus the absolute weight of these spiritual laws. Pharaoh thought he had power, but he was just raising his own enemy.
And the tribes of Ya'juj and Ma'juj think they have strength, but they're defeated by just not saying Inshallah.
Exactly. And Samiri thought he could hack the divine system with a bit of dust, and he ended up completely cursed. The source is reinforcing a world where material reality walls, gold, rivers, is all subject to these spiritual laws.
So what does this mean for us then? The source seems to be really emphasizing the power of language.
I think the relevance sits right there. In our modern world, we feel very secure behind our own walls, right? Technology, medicine, economic security. But the story of Ya'juj and Ma'juj suggests that all of our effort is futile if it's disconnected from a higher intent. You can build the wall all day, but if you don't have that spiritual component, it just resets to zero.
And on the flip side, the damage done by a false accusation, by gossip, is treated like a cosmic crime.
Something that requires divine intervention to fix. It's a call to be so careful with our words, whether it's saying God willing to secure the future or holding your tongue to protect a reputation.
Words in this text have very real physical consequences.
They really do.
That's a powerful place to leave it. This deep dive shows that history isn't just names and dates, it's also about the invisible rules that govern them.
It forces you to look at the walls in your own life a bit differently.
Which leads us to a final thought for you to chew on today. The source describes this massive iron and copper wall engineered by a global ruler that is held together or broken apart not by dynamite, but by a simple two-word phrase. It makes you wonder, what walls or barriers in your own life, career, relationships, personal struggles seem unbreakable right now just because you haven't found the right words to unlock them?
Or maybe, what walls are you building in vain because you're forgetting to acknowledge that bigger picture?
It's something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.